Peace family. So we back with another one. Today what I want to do is I want to talk to my chosen ones about how they use this current system to justify their actions. A lot of beings out here are not following natural law, protocol, and they are using everything that the system put in place to justify their actions. We were taught certain things when we were little, right? I remember this one statement, I don't remember who said it, but it always stuck with me. And I was real little, and they was like, anytime you out here doing something, whether you outside of your house, there's always someone watching. Like, we used to hear this so much growing up. And outside of if they was using that statement as in there's always someone physically watching, like from a window, from afar, a distance, from close by, around the corner, you know what I mean? When you look at the bigger picture, there is a vibration that's always overseeing us. We also knew when we was little that we could get away with certain things because people wasn't there to physically see us, take this little candy from the convenience store or eat the last piece of food that was in the fridge or a snack, or drink the last drink, because nobody physically saw us. We understood these things. This is how we understand natural law, because a lot of these things that we were doing and learning when we were young, our parents wasn't teaching us, hey, if nobody's watching, you can do that and get away with it. See, we tried it and we figured out that, okay, we can get away with it temporary, but as you got older, you started to feel guilty about doing certain things. And we didn't really want that guilt to weigh on us. It just takes up space in your inner space. It's like, if I don't need this extra storage box, why am I going to keep it stacked up in my living room when I can organize my living room better and put that storage box somewhere else, or get rid of the items and the box altogether, But a lot of beings are leaning on this system to justify their actions. We all have to leave this realm one day in one way or another, and understanding these things from a warrior's perspective, it's like, I would rather stand for something than fall for anything. That is one generic statement that I've always enjoyed using. And we have a lot of people out here they're doing their job as sheep. Their daddy, their leader, put a set of rules in place. They follow them to the T and to the degree, Like a small example, it's like we all have to make ways on these roads, because it's not really set up to walk anymore. Civilization used to be set up to where, us spiritual beings having a human experience could walk anywhere. But now the roads have taken over and the roads have become primary. These roads is our outer space traffic airways, I always teach my mini, this is our inner space, this is our outer space. Everything, these trees, all of this is outer space. We've never left this realm, and a lot of people could try to lean and believe on it, but those are for the ones who are fully invested into the system and they believe wholeheartedly in the system. But most of us that's connected with Source already understand, like, no man is stepping foot on that moon, just like no one is getting close to that sun. And you can drive on the road, right? Just small example. You'll be driving on the road. We usually only get in the cars when we're going from point A to point B. You may have a C, D, E stop in between there, but you have a destination. Nobody's just on the roads just hanging out. But you'll have some of these zombie robots get frustrated if you are trying to get to your destination and you're trying to drive at your speed and they're in front of you. Now, when you tend to go around this vehicle and speed up, these people always tend to get pissed off. And it's always weird to me because it's like, bro, I don't know you personally. I don't care about your car. I didn't even care about you as a being. In my inner world, I was coming from here, from my house to my workspace, you know what I mean? Or from here to the store or to one of my locations or something, you know. I don't process all the beings on the road in between. And a lot of them tend to get offended when they see that you are your own being. When they see that you are willing to live and you don't have a problem taking risks in areas of your life where they are afraid to take risk. And it makes sense because a lot of their plays in their book that they use is signed at the bottom. You know how you go in, you gotta, like say you go in to sign a lease somewhere and they got all these words, it's like 10, 12 pages. You always gotta sign it at the bottom. Each page you gotta sign. Now we got the digital thing, so you know, you may be on the computer or something and you just signature at the bottom. That's how their playbook works. Their signature is fair and then their name. Fair and then their name. So they've already pushed out and understand that, all right, fair. We need to be afraid. We need to not take any risk that would create more fear. And like the car thing is just a small example because I'm always on the road, moving around doing stuff. But I run into that often enough where I'm located at, where I see people get mad, getting offended. And I can always tell because either somebody will throw their hand out the car, like, or they'll look in the mirrors and do weird signs, or they'll just try to flick me off. I'm on the road so much now that I don't even look over at the other vehicles, like when I'm going from my point A to point B, because it's always somebody that's in an enraged, inferior state. It's like, I'm in a Honda, and then you are in some kind of Lexus, Audi, you in something foreign, but then you're still such an angry being on the inside. It's because they don't like the fact that we don't follow all of their rules. We follow some because it's part of society. But a lot of them is like, well, I'm following, so you have to follow. You know, I'm going at this speed. You need to drive at my speed because this is what was set right here. And it's like, bro, I'm not causing you any harm by me trying to get to my location and not go at your speed. I want to go at my own speed. In my inner world, I got the time calculated as far as like, either I was leaving out early to get there by a certain time or I was leaving out late and I'm trying to get there by a certain time. But the time is being calculated, it's being weighed in. Small example. But you can look at everything else in life and you can see how people use the system to justify their actions, you know? And I don't know why when I do go on my social medias, or I should say YouTube, because I don't really be on any of my other medias like that. I don't be on TikTok, even though I had one. They shadow banned me so many times that I don't even post up there. I just kept my account so that way, if people do want to find me, I do have a TikTok account, you know. But I don't post up there. Instagram, I'm big on stories. I don't really put a lot of posts up anymore, just because of the transition that I'm in life. But, you know, stories is cool. I see a lot of this, I guess the new word that they're using now, which I'm saying new because it's new to within the last decade or century. Let's say century. It's new within the last century, last 100 years, you know what I mean? And it's a lot of this feminist movement and women needing to be freed because they've been shackled and all of this weird shit. And in my inner space, I be getting a little frustrated because, like, That's the family structure that you want to be freed from. You're not freeing yourself from the system. So they use the dialogue and the laws that's been put in place to follow along what's been going on, you know? And it's weird because they even if they aren't a quote-unquote feminist, because I don't believe in that ideology. You either with my team or you against my team. It's only two playbooks. As far as the dialogue you want to use there, some people gangbang in Spanish, some people gangbang in English, some people gangbang in Swahili. I don't give a damn. Either way, you still taking on the same playbook, you know? So I try not to lower my volume too low to meet them at those levels. You know, I can communicate and engage, but I don't want to lower my levels to meet them on those vibes. But then you also have a lot of people, like somebody just told me that they had a family member have cancer and they've been taking the treatments for it. You know what I mean? And the treatments is really more harmful and more detrimental to the body, but because the system said it was okay, it's justifying them going to these evil people and letting these people run these experiments and tests on them. And we all understand how harmful radiation and what they call chemotherapy is bad for us. You know what I mean? You would rather take the easy solution and hurt yourself in the process by going to the system, opposed from you taking the time out and fighting for yourself, researching and learning the natural remedies and things that you can use to do to heal these things within your body. Everything can be cured. Everything can be cured. It's not one thing that cannot be cured. Now, if you catch it too late, that's a different story, you know. But it was curable if you were wise enough and aware enough to pay attention to what's going on within you, and you take initiative. You know, you have to take that initiative. A lot of people are hurting themselves following that system and they think it's okay. You know what I mean? Like, it's a lot of things that's been transpiring, taking place, and a lot of people just be like, oh yeah, well, you know, it's okay, you know. And in my world, it's like, it's not okay. Like, you saying you're a good person, but you allowing this system to operate the way that it does without any pushback, any fight back. You know, everybody isn't the strongest, just like everybody isn't the weakest. But there's always cracks and avenues, especially in this battlefield we're in right now, for you to have a role to play to transition us out of this mess that we in right now. You know, we in the United States right now, a lot of us, not everybody. I know there's people all over the world that be tapped in, but I'm in the States, you know what I mean? And it's weird when I think about life, and if I wasn't living in the States and I was on social media and I was seeing how they was living in the States, I would assume that all of the people in the United States are extremely fucking weak. Nobody's fighting back or pushing back against the system at a high percentage. I hate to say nobody, because there's always someone, it's just they don't have the numbers, you know, so that you always gonna get outpowered. But eventually you have to get to a place to where that doesn't matter, where that's not your main focus. Your main focus is more so on helping create that shift. Because what's gonna happen is a lot of us, the work that we putting in now isn't really gonna be felt until we're gone to our next journey. A lot of the work we're putting in now is not gonna be felt till we put in, you know, we gone on to our next journey. And I know a lot of us would like to receive our flowers right now and do all these things, but like, you gotta understand, flowers are very easy to come by now. Like, you can just go to the store and buy them. Like, flowers had more meaning when men or women was actually going out finding the areas that had beautiful flowers and picking them, putting in the actual time and energy to find them, in the actual physical labor to uproot them. You know, that's not the same thing anymore. So it literally diminished the value of that concept of receiving flowers. So Of course, us on this team, when you use this playbook, most get their flowers when they are on their next journey. It's because our team always finds a way to make everything we do, everything that happens, meaningful. Meaningful, meaning it has substance. So while you're out here operating, feeling like you're not making much of an impact, trust me, if you fight in this battle, you are doing a great job, and you are leaving your stamp print and your blueprint down, and you going to get your flowers when it's time. You know what I mean? But to be expecting them right now in a day and age where most people are operating and following the system, you know, it's going to be extremely difficult, and there's a lot more challenges that you will have to face just even trying to communicate and engage with a lot of people who follow this system. You know what I mean? It's weird running into people saying that, oh yeah, well, men don't do this anymore, men don't do that anymore. You want traditional man that's going to provide and protect and do all this other shit. You know what I mean? It's like, you haven't even named anything outside of the natural talking, the normal talking points that every other robot out here is saying. Like, most men already understand, like, the things that we're supposed to do. You know what I mean? It's for a lot of men that's warriors out here in this battlefield like me, it's kind of like being the Hulk and not being able to utilize your strength and your powers and abilities, you know? For the women, it's kind of like being Storm from X-Men and you not being able to utilize your powers and abilities. You know, you just kind of sitting around, you know, a storm, you can dictate and control and manipulate the weather. You know, the crops could be drying out, but you're not allowed to utilize your powers, or you feel as though you're not allowed to utilize them because of the consequences that come with them. Eventually, we're going to have to get to a point to where we understand that some of us are going to have to be sacrificial in the way we walk our lives in order to have a better life in place for the next generation. I know I gotta let them pass. But some of us are going to have to sacrifice, you know? And then trying to argue and communicate and debate and go back and forth with certain beings out here that strictly follow the system. They always like to quote their statistics. You know, they like to utilize their laws that's in place. You know, that's cool if you are playing the game to get to another step so that way you can make more of an impact to help the people. But a lot of people aren't doing that. You know, they're doing this and utilizing it for self. Self. I, me. It's no we. And understanding these things, like, for me, it helped so much with communicating and engaging with people outside of me. Because once I understand, like I always say, you have to figure out what's their connection with source. Figure out their connection with source. Because once you figure out their connection with source, you're automatically going to be able to figure out, okay, we judge people, we label people. I don't care for the people who say we don't. I'm never going to walk into a dark alley because I judged it. If I do go walk into a dark alley, it's because I'm in a space to where I know I could take care of myself. I probably got some extra protection on me. And I wish a motherfucker would try me. You know? I don't know. Like I said, it's like being the Hulk and you just really want to use your powers and abilities, and they're being suppressed and you are also suppressing them. Since I've been in this space, I've been getting a whole lot better at being more expressive, you know, and allowing me to utilize my powers and abilities a lot more. I had someone else recently who, it's like the same airplane just taking a lap right over top of me. It's a personal plane too, but it's all good. These ones aren't as bad as the commercial planes. The commercial planes be screaming. And it was like I was talking to somebody the other day in the store. I just ran in for a quick stop, and he was mentioning how his family members was like Native Americans, you know. And before the old me, I would just keep the information. When I first started learning it, I would keep the information to myself. I wouldn't really care for like expressing outwardly as far as like when people make statements like that. But this was a white guy. You know, I know we not color biased over here. You can go drop all this African Americans that they call us in Africa, and we'll still have issues with the other brown people. So it's not color bias. But what happens is a lot of them don't even do the research to understand that, okay, when he mentioned he was a native, the first thing I kept thinking was, you're not doing any research. We have to stand solid on something. Before I get in there, we have to stand solid on something. Most brown people, or whatever nationality you are, you're not going to allow somebody to spray their skin color and then set it your culture. That doesn't happen. We've had plenty of people try to tan and do fake hairs and wigs to fit into the culture. We said no. We don't have that same pushback when it comes to man role, woman role. People feel like they're equal when clearly men are built with even a bigger bone mass, if you want to use physical attributes to show that we are bigger and stronger and faster than the other sex. It's just that simple. You know what I mean? When you could take these things and put them hand in hand and understand, all right, there are rules and laws in place. It put me at a space of where there's never going to be a right time to sit down and teach someone or to have certain discussions. Sometimes they just happen right on the spot. So when he was saying that, I had to mention to him, you know, before I jumped into what I wanted to jump into, I just told him he should check out the $5 Indian. You know, if you don't know what a $5 Indian, you can type it in Google, you can type it in YouTube, but you got to do your research. $5 Indians, you know what I mean, is what I was explaining to him. I gave it to him in a short form because it's basically, they stripped us, the real natives, of our own culture, and they were giving our land to the Caucasians for $5, the ones that was moving here. So this is how you don't see any Indians or natives that actually look like this. Most brown people over here don't look like African Americans, you know, and a lot of weird people say, oh, it come from slavery and blending and all this shit. You cannot go into a hood right now and put them all in physical slavery because we got too much fighting us. Common sense tells me that, you know what I mean? And he didn't take the information hard when I was, you know, putting it to him, because I've been in this space for a while now, so now it's like I figured out different ways to feed certain people, you know. This one, he needed a spoon. The last one needed a fork, you know. It's different. Some of them just need a straw, because I may put it all in one blender and then just hand them a smoothie. You know what I mean? But I don't try to feed everybody the exact same way, because I understand the playbook that they're using, either willingly or willingly. We always got choices, so it's hard to cut too much slack for a lot of people who are unaware sheep. You know, they're aware that this system is fucked up, but long as they get through the day and they're following the rules and they don't get in any trouble with their team, they cool. You know what I mean? But us on this side of the spectrum, we always seem to have some kind of weird chaos at the door, some commotion around the corner, you know, some weird vibrations that's just creeping up on your back, you know. It's just always, it's because it's so many of them and their vibration is extremely heavy right now. And it's even worse if you're in the inner cities, because you don't have as much trees and natural life to balance it out. This helps keep a balance to a lot of this demonic vibration that's going on out here. And once you start understanding these things, you'll stop putting so much emphasis on going back and forth with a lot of these people who use their team's playbook to justify their actions. we use our playbook to justify our actions. So now that we got this understood, it should show clear as day where everybody is standing at, and how there has been such a huge divide, and how the people who aren't intentionally running around hurting people, y'all sided with the wrong team. Y'all sided with the wrong team. You don't get to go and do things at the highest level if you're helping the demonic forces sustain their power. If you're fighting for their causes. If you're following their belief systems. But a lot of beings out here don't want to dive that deep in it. To be honest, like, it's really not that deep. It's really not that deep. Like, most people understand, oh, I don't like politics. That eliminates them knowing what a Democratic Party is, Republican Party is, the Senate, you know, all the other legislations and legislators that they, and all the weird language that they use in that department. They don't care about right wing, left wing, you know, because to us over here, it's all the same bird. Right wing, left wing, it's the same bird. But people are so brainwashed today that they think brainwashing is doing this right here, wiggling a watch or a clock in front of you until you just zone out, you know. That's basically what they do with the music. And we have music incorporated in everything that we do. So we also have to do a better job at trying to minimize the music intake, you know. Because before we had the music we got now, because you can find a lot of fire music. I know a lot of dope Christian artists, 12 Tribes artists, you know, just artists who spiritually connected, making some fire music. But before, when I was younger growing up, we only had hip hop and we had R&B. R&B was sexual, hip hop was street. So there was no middle ground. You know, we either rapping and singing along with songs about, you know, the street stuff, or we're singing songs and it's about sex, love, relationships, and all of those things. It had no connection or meaning with source until they started transitioning gospel music, and then they tried the hip-hop gospel music. But even when they was transitioning that stuff, it wasn't grabbing people the way that it should have been. I was never a fan of that style of music because that style of music is just not me. But when I feel that warrior spirit and they spitting that real knowledge over a fire beat, that's my vibe. That's my vibe. You know, I'm always going to understand that I've been a warrior at heart. You know, my grandfather, he did karate, boxing. He was known in the streets for fighting. You know, my grandfather got murdered in Harlem. But from the story I was given by my family, his daughters, my aunts, and like some of my other relatives, it's like, he didn't have to go outside when he did, but he a warrior, so he be expecting or wishing people were trying. But it was the younger generation that ended up killing my grandfather. My dad, that was made through my grandfather, he was a Golden Glove boxer, you know, and he did a lot of fighting too. So for me growing up and being behind it, it felt natural, you know what I mean? Man, masculine. You don't even have to be, well, you got to be masculine if you're in these vessels. Men carry the seed of life. Women birth life. They bring that life form into this realm. You cannot have it any other way, you know. They can try to artificially inseminate and do all these other weird things that they try to do, but it's not the same, you know what I mean? But keep these things in mind, you know what I mean? That a lot of them are going to justify their actions because they follow the system and they see other people do it. Oh, I could wear these short shirts and this crop top because I ain't hurt nobody. I'm doing me. I'm not hurting nobody. You're not, but you are to a degree, because now you out in public. You are to a degree, because now you out in public and you are forcing married men in relationships to practice more discipline on not being intrigued by this visual specimen that's coming across their way. You know what I mean? And not saying that they cannot do it, but you are putting people in weird and awkward positions, you know? And that goes for even when I see girls, like when I took my daughter to the public pools. I even getting tired of doing that. I want to start getting her out to these lakes and rivers again. I just been transitioning, so I haven't been doing that avenue as much. But even then, I still see younger girls who have thong bikinis on at a public pool. It's not even a beach, you know. You're not thinking about all the little people that has to see you in this outfit. Like, everybody isn't looking because, oh, it looks nice. Some people is just looking because it's awkward. It's awkward, you know. They don't care what kind of attention they get, long as it's some attention, you know. And that goes the same for, you know, not being able to distinguish RuPaul from a regular female, you know. The old women look like young women, the young women look like old women. So that means everybody look alike. And everybody can justify these things based off of, because the system allows it, you know. We gotta do better, and we gotta keep fighting this fight, you know what I mean? But I ain't gonna run up too long. Y'all tapping everything down below in the description. Peace and love to the kings and queens.